do birds suddenly appear?
There you have it, ladies and gentlemen.
You want me?
Ma'am Rosalinda Coloma Mariano. Big round of applause, please. Good afternoon, ma'am.
I long to be close to you. Rising stars fall down from the sky. Every time you walk by, just like me, I long to be close to you.
I also would like to call an engineer, Magellan V. Mariano and Dr. Portia Mariano from Maryland, USA. Advocate Pastor Antonio Wesley and Mrs. Rosemary Mariano Wesley from Maryland, USA.
Got together and decided to create a dream come true. So this pink that's in your hair, of gold is all out in your eyes, so blue. That is why all the girls in town follow you.
May we also welcome Mr. John Galotira from Maryland, USA. We also have Mrs. Trini Galotira from Maryland, USA. May we request the proxies, Apo?
I must face the world of strangers where I don't belong. I'm not that strong. It's nice to know that there's someone I can turn to who will always care. You're always
okay, so we have here from Ninong and Nina, Mr. and Mrs. Shonita Placer. We also have Reverend Anton T. Wesley and Rosemary Mariano Wesley. And another envelope from Mr. John and Mrs. Trinidad Galotira. All the way from USA.
Touch me and I am up singing. Trouble seems to walk and disappear. You touch me with the love you're bringing. I can't really lose when you're near. And you're near. If all my friends have forgotten how the promises, they're not unkind.
Okay, while waiting, Apo, awagan pang-met ni Mr. Clemente Mariano Jr. and Mrs. Jane Mariano Jr. Mrs. Jane Mariano from Maryland, USA.
I found the best when the snow getting over.
Okay, we have here
rainbow. When my smallest dreams won't
from Uncle and Auntie John and Trini, $100, Apo. Another $100 from Reverend Anton T. Wesley and Rosemary Mariano Wesley.
When my smallest dreams won't come true.
And another $100 from Nino and Nina Shoni.
But I won't hesitate.
Alright, from Ninang Shoni and Ninong Lito, $100. Okay, may we also call in Mr. and Mrs. Perlito and Shonita Mariano Placer from Maryland, USA. Ayan, nabigay na po kanina. We also have Mr. Loreto and Mrs. Leonida Mariano from Maryland, USA. I think we have proxies here. And for yung mga hindi pa nakarating because they are there in USA, they have asked a proxy na mangyawat apo di siya regalo da para kada Cecil and Francis. Right, we have here from Mr. and Mrs. Loreto Mariano and family.
So fine.
Yan, 2,000 pesos. Alright, thank you so much. We also have here with us Mr. Crescencio and Mrs. Natividad Mariano Guevara from Maryland, USA.
It's yesterday once more. Songs of love that I would sing to you then, and I memorize each word. Don't your melodies still sound so good to me as they melt.
Okay, we have here Mr. and Mrs. Chris Nati Guevara, $100. May we also have Honorable Sangguniang Bahay Member Eugenio Navarro. Sir, ma'am. Ate Eileen. Ate Eileen.
Just like before. It's yesterday once more.
Once again, ladies and gentlemen, we have the Honorable Sangguniang Bayan Member Eugenio Navarro. Palakpakan din po natin Mr. and Mrs. Narding and Zenaida Arios from Hawaii.
The hardest thing I've ever done is keep believing.
Alright, we have here 1,000 pesos. Again po, we have Mr. and Mrs. Narding and Zenaida Arios from Hawaii.
My chance could come and I might never know. Used to say the promises, let's keep it simple, but rhythm only.
Wow, ang daming envelopes, ma'am. Okay, I would like to make mention of the names. Yes, ma'am. Basahin natin sa likod, sir. Yan, ito yung may pinakamaraming envelopes ngayong araw na to. Wow! From... Ayun, yun. We have here... Mr. and Mrs. Narding and Zenaida Arios of Hawaii, they gave 1, 2, 3, $400. I'm sorry, $500. Abo, palagpak naman dyan.
That's what I
Okay. Next envelope we have.
On the first night.
All right, from Auntie Emilia Villanueva, $300.
Very few regrets. Ordinary
Diba saklatan, ma'am?
problems have nothing
From
hard to face.
Avelina Villanueva of Hawaii.
Changes have been slowly taking place. We that take each other for everything we are, or live the life we've made behind and make another.
All right, we have here $400.
What I am, but simply
From, of course, Ma'am Avelina Villanueva of Hawaii.
or hope that I will be. And if you're only using me to feed your fantasy,
Another dollars
you're really not in love.
from Uncle
So
Nardi
let me go. I must
Timbang, and of course,
be
Auntie Warly Timbang. All right, we have here $200.
You're only using me to feed your fantasy. You're really not in love, so let me go. I must be free.
And of course, the last envelope contains $100 from Mr. and Mrs. Daniel and Jenny Vallejo. All right, a big round of applause, please.
You're only using me to feed your fantasy. You're really not in love.
May we also have Mr. and Mrs. John and Marites Arios. Mr. John and Marites Arios.
You're really not in love, so let me go. I must be free.
We also have Mr. and Mrs. Primitivo and Warlita Timbang of Hawaii. All right, I think I mentioned that a while ago. We also have Miss Emilia Villanueva, Mrs. Sally Duluog. Maybe we have Ma'am Sally with Ogen's Impact. Ma'am Sally Duluog. All right, we have here Mr. and Mrs. John D. Arios. Okay, he gave, of course, 3,000 pesos. Wow, Ma'am Sally. All right, from Ma'am Sally and Sir Rudy from Belgium, we have in peso 20,000 pesos, and we have here euro no ko ito Diyos ko tatala makaigam apo. Euro 200. Wow. Makakaskasaran na matan. Once again, 20,000 pesos and 200 euro. All right. We also have here from Mary Lou and Alex Duluog. €200. Wow. I-approach ko pa ilang man. Tabarang maka-euro act. Iti sumarunong at tawtawan apo. Thank you so much. Indeed, our couple are blessed, kakabsat. May we also welcome Mr. and Mrs. Gregorio Duluog. Okay, may we also have Mrs. Ligaya Villanueva Bercaso of Hawaii. Alright, kasama po kay ni Mr. and Mrs. Villamor Olandes of Hawaii. Villamor Olandes of Hawaii. Are they here, Apo? I think at the Tinimam. Okay. We received here one envelope with a greetings card. Okay, we have here from Mr. and Mrs. Gregorio Duluog, 2,000 pesos. And of course, here we have $100 from Auntie or Ninang Ligaya. Another envelope, ladies and gentlemen, containing $100 from Ninong Amor and Ninang Thelma. Again, $100. May we also have Mr. and Mrs. Arsenio and Lourdes Balicao of Hawaii. Arati apo ni Sir and Ma'am. Wow, there they are. Mr. and Mrs. Arsenio and Lourdes Balicao. From Mr. and Mrs. Arsenio Balicao, ladies and gentlemen, 5,000 pesos. May we also have Ninong and Ninang Delia Arios, 2,000 pesos. Dito pa po from Ninang Felicidad Vicente, 1,500 pesos. Alright, from Ninong Mael and Ninang Luming, 2,000 pesos. All right, let's continue. From Mr. and Mrs. Rolando Antonio, 3,000 pesos. Maybe also have Mr. and Mrs. Bustamante Sonajo of Hawaii. Big hand for Mr. and Mrs. Marlon Navarro from Hawaii. Right, we have here 2,500 from Mr. and Mrs. Amanda Sunaho of Hawaii. Mr. and Mrs. Artemio Abian of Hawaii. Alright, this is from Ninong Marlon Navarro, right? 1,000 pesos. Maybe also have Mr. and Mrs. Flor and Merlita Castro of Hawaii. Likewise, we welcome on stage Mr. and Mrs. Ben Andres of Hawaii. Wow. From Mr. and Mrs. Artemio Abian, 5,000 pesos. Okay, we have here from Mr. and Mrs. Ophelia Andres, $100. Another $100, ladies and gentlemen, from Mr. and Mrs. Flor Castro. Wow! Umuulan ng dollars ngayong hapon, mga kaibigan. May we also have Mr. and Mrs. Ben Andres, Mrs. Helen Bumanglag. Maybe have Mrs. Helen Bumanglag. Of course, from Hawaii. Another one from Hawaii. We have Mr. and Mrs. Tony Pantaleon. From Ninong and Ninang Richard Bumanglag, 1K. Okay, we have here, I think, the envelope from Mrs. Helen Bumanglag of Hawaii. Right. Okay, and we have here $50. Let's also welcome on stage Mr. and Mrs. Loreto and Trinidad Agmata. Falling in love with you. We may also have Mr. and Mrs. Arnold Sases. Again from Hawaii. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. and Mrs. Dominador Sases. And of course, we have also here Mr. and Mrs. Rolando Antonio. Sing my whole life through. Alright, from Ninong Arnold Sases, 2,000 pesos. With you. May we also welcome Mrs. Delia Alejandro of Hawaii. From Mr. and Mrs. Dominador Sases, 2 new 1,000 pesos. Dalawang 1,000 pesos. Again, Ma'am Delia Alejandro of Hawaii. We also have Mrs. Winnie Euro of Hawaii. Falling in love with you. Mrs. Winnie Euro, may we request the proxy of Ma'am Winnie Euro to be on stage. Dito yung apo ni Auntie, yung kalaslas bang Auntie Benilda Domingo. We also have Mrs. Perlinda Bumanglag from Hawaii. Of course, represented by the son-in-law